Adiel Gorel has helped thousands secure their retirement riches. Even the great Warren Buffett wrote him needing to know more. The answers are all here for you. Welcome to the Remote Control Retirement Riches Show.
So when people ask me, I'm thinking of investing in the San Francisco Bay Area, is that a good place to invest? I would say no. And there are a couple of reasons for it. Number one, right off the bat, I'll be very short. In the San Francisco Bay Area, the prices are very high. The rents relative to the prices are very, very low. So yield or return on investment is going to be very poor. And in fact, it makes more sense to rent, paying this low rent, living in those expensive homes, and invest in other places in the country where you can buy cheap homes that rent for, in percentage, much, much more. I will add another factor. Being a landlord in the San Francisco Bay Area, the tenant-landlord laws are heavily skewed against you. That is something you can see in the state of California and in the state of New York. That alone could be a reason not to go and invest in these places. I have an article that I wrote called Where to Buy. And my criteria of where to invest in rental homes is very simple. The Sun Belt states, because the demographic studies show that's where the growth is. And Sun Belt states could include the state of California, and then large metropolitan areas for job diversity, economic diversity. That is included in the San Francisco Bay area, so far, check. I personally prefer the suburbs for families with kids, and it's all very sad. But they have suburbs in the San Francisco Bay Area, check. And then my next criteria is where there's a decent ratio between rent and price. And let me tell you, this is where the San Francisco Bay Area falls flat on its face. The ratio between rents and prices in the San Francisco Bay Area has always been crazy. Even when I started investing there close to 39 years ago. I was buying in the Silicon Valley area, I was living in Palo Alto, and even back then, even though all the numbers were much lower, prices were lower, rents were lower, the ratio still really sucked. So I can tell you, as a person who lives in Marin County, which is right in the San Francisco Bay Area, you just cross the Golden Gate Bridge to beautiful Marin from San Francisco. I chose to rent my Marin County house for 20 years. And everybody said, "What? You are the big real estate expert? You are a mere lowly renter? What?" Yes, because I happen to be a logical person. Back in the day, I can give you the numbers from back then. I was living in a beautiful home, really liked it. My rent was $3,000 a month. $3,000 wasn't very cheap back then. The home could have been bought for about $1 million. I know all these numbers sound very quaint right now for the San Francisco Bay Area, but that's many years ago. So I was living in $1 million home, paying $3,000 a month. To me, $3,000 a month was very low rent for $1 million home. But people said, "But you are throwing away $3,000 every month, throwing. By the way, even on this point, you're not throwing away. Suppose I bought the home. I could have rented it for $3,000 a month, but I was going to occupy it with my fat body and walk through the kitchen and use the bathroom. Guess what I would be doing? Throwing away $3,000 every month that I could have been getting from a beautiful tenant. The only way you don't throw away money for the privilege of living under roof is if you live in a tent in somebody's backyard, and it does get cold in the winter here. So that's just a myth. But people were saying, But if you bought your own home, you'd be building equity. So here, I was renting in the expensive Marin County, San Francisco Bay area, while buying homes in the Sun Belt states, such as back in the day, our biggest market was Phoenix. So I was buying brand new homes in Phoenix for $150,000 for the whole house, and the rent was $1,100 a month. Now that is high rent. So it's not like I wasn't building equity. While I was renting the expensive home in the Bay Area, paying rent, while it seems like a lot, was very little relative to the price, I was buying homes in places where the rent is much higher, and I was buying many of them. Finally, I just said, well, the heck with it. I'll just buy the home. It's not logical, so I bought it. But absolutely investing in the San Francisco Bay Area, even back then, would make little sense. The cash flow would be atrocious. Today, the situation is far worse. That same home that used to cost $1 million is now close to $4 million. The rent on the home is not even $7,000 a month. So look at this. The price went up fourfold, but the rent only went up about 2.25-fold. It's worse than it was. So people say, what? You're going to rent a $4 million home and pay $7,000 a month rent? $7,000 is so much. $7,000 is a lot. But it's very little, very tiny, very small relative to $4 million. So you can rent in the Bay Area and buy in places in the country right now where you can get homes brand new in good areas for $280,000 that rent for $1,900 a month. That is high rent. And you can buy many of them. So no. To summarize, do I think that investing in the San Francisco Bay Area is a good thing to do? Is it a good place to invest? To take all the data and put it in the blender and come up with a concise type of a way to answer it, I would say no. I'll be talking about it more during our next event. You're welcome to join us. You can register on our website, icgre.com, under events. Looking forward to seeing you. Thanks for joining me today. Click the subscribe button for more video on real estate. Got a question or comment? I love questions and comments. Leave yours below. And here's another video you've got to see.